This is where the Australian Endless Summer begins, on the Gold Coast. It's a 26-mile stretch of white sand beach on the eastern shore of Australia. Now, I say this is where the Endless Summer begins because right now we're in the middle of the Australian winter. Yes, blue skies and the temperature, about 80 degrees.
Join us tonight as Eye on LA chases the summer sun down to Australia in a special quest for the endless Aussie summer. We'll dive on the Great Barrier Reef and tour a fantasy resort island as guests of a self-made millionaire. Aussie beaches beat a rhythm of play that makes everyone want to lay back, suit up, and surf out. And we'll take a sheepish ride on the wild side of the outback, from kangaroos to buckaroos. It's all part of a fascinating look at the Australian Endless Summer.
For most Australians, the beach here is a second home. And as you can see, this beach has a lot of action on it today. A lot of people doing different things. Hi, everybody. I'm Chuck Henry. Australia is an island continent in which 90% of the population, about 16 million people, live right around the edges. Therefore, even in the dead of winter, you know what? You can always find summer.
Australia is about the size of the United States, with a total population less than New York City. The warm climate is guaranteed because most of their country is closer to the equator than we are. Australia is made up of 7 states: Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, Tasmania, South Australia, Western Territory, and the Northern Territory. All of Australia's major cities and most of her population live on or near the coast. 10,000 miles of Pacific Ocean separate Australia from the United States, but Continental Airlines makes the journey easy with frequently scheduled luxury flights. Spectacular Sydney is our first stop, and this town is a favorite for many reasons.
I think it's a conglomeration of a lot of different cities, Chuck. I think it's got the best of San Francisco, the best of, we were talking a moment ago about Boston, some of the architecture of the East Coast of the United States, the waterways of Seattle, the temperature of San Diego. It's clean, it's safe. It's not like any other place in the world. It's unique, but it's, again, a conglomeration of a lot of little places that are very special and have very good feelings for most people in the world.
If you head northward, you'll find 21 miles of perfect white sand beaches. It's called the Gold Coast. It's sort of a cross between Miami, Waikiki Beach, and Atlantic City, but without the crowds. Here there are 300 days of sunshine, and the hottest place to stay in town is at the famous Conrad International Hotel and Casino.
G'day.
That's great. Now let's take a look at some very Aussie fashions by Ken Dome. One more time.
10 years ago, Ken Dome left his successful advertising career and went on to become Australia's premier artist. What started out as poster art on a promotional T-shirt has blossomed into a full line of ready-to-wear Aussie art.
The business now is certainly branching into fashion in quite a large way. They portrayed Ken's vision of Australia, of the colour of Australia, where Ken has always lived. It's what we like to think Australia's all about, and I think that's the way the rest of the world's starting to perceive us as well.
This is a husband and wife team. Ken creates the fabric art, while his wife Judy designs the clothes.
There is now emanating a a ladies' line of fashion, there is a gentleman's line of fashion coming, and children, of course, speak for themselves. What we've got this season is a fully coordinated range that stems from swimwear right the way through to resort wear. It allows for you to walk off the beach, to dress in a coordinated outfit, from there to a restaurant, by the pool. In the children's, there is the mixture of the Australian animal scenes that we believe suit kids.
The adult line is a vibrant collection of color, reflecting the carefree lifestyle of the Aussie Endless Summer. As for the future of Ken Dome fashions, well...
At the moment, it's predominantly leisure wear. What the future holds, who knows?
Surfboards came from Hawaii, but soon they were imitated in Australia, and today some of the finest surfers in the world come from the land down under. But the epitome of Australian beach life are surf life-saving associations. Now, since its founding in 1907, over 20,000 swimmers have been rescued.
In my country, there's a real mystique about Australian lifeguards. I mean, we've heard great stories about it. What does it take to be a lifeguard?
We have to pass a few fitness tests, a lot of written tests and that. You have to be fit, yes. On our council here, the first number one thing is making sure prevention's better than cure, we say. So we're always on the lookout, making sure no one gets in trouble and that.
Australian beaches, they got a lot of sharks out there.
Yeah, there is a lot of sharks out there, but there's also a lot of fish, so they've got a lot of food to eat. So they don't need to attack anyone, you know. We've got nets out there also. There hasn't been a shark attack on this beach for 40 or 50 years.
The Surf Life-Saving Association also produces some of the finest athletes in the country. In Australia, you see very few women lifeguards. That's why these clubs were almost wiped out in the 60s. When the rules were changed to allow women, the clubs were resuscitated.
Hawaii has its Waikiki Beach, California has its Malibu, and Sydney has Bondi Beach. On a crowded Sunday afternoon, they can get about 10,000 people on this beach. You probably know Bondi Beach because this is the famous topless beach. But what a lot of people don't know, especially those that frequent the beach, is that it's topless only at the south end. That means as we look out on the beach today, there are a lot of municipal violations.
In the 1950s, when bikinis began showing up at the beach, a beach council was employed to measure the width of each bikini. Now, these men were the appointed arbitrators of taste and morality at the beach. If a woman was found in violation, her picture, much to the delight of readers, would appear on page 1 of the Sydney newspaper. This was known as the Great Bikini War. These nautical daredevils are the superstars of a water ski spectacular at a place called SeaWorld on the Gold Coast. 3 times a day, they perform amazing stunts, twisting, spinning, flipping through the salt air at speeds exceeding 35 miles an hour. Now, sure, it looks difficult, and maybe even a little dangerous, but I gotta tell you, that did not stop me when the Aussie stuntman asked if I'd like to give it a go.
Okay, those on first.
Why do I need these?
It's just protection, stops the water if you have an accident, that's all.
What do you mean, have an accident?
Well, if you fall and your bum goes in the water,
Yeah?
it just prevents the water going up the wrong places, that's all.
Something you're not telling me.
Yeah.
Now, I only had time for one quick lesson on land, and the main idea is to let the boat just drag you up the jump. The key is to never pull the rope, at least not while you're on the jump. So you see, if you pull the rope, well, this is what happens if you pull the rope. Well, I'm no dummy, and so on my second attempt, no matter what happened, guess what? I was not going to pull the rope. So I just, well, here it goes. I tossed the rope. Now, my daredevil buddies tried to talk me through a third jump, but no luck. I had to find out the hard way exactly how to make, you know, those graceful beach landings? Yeah, just like this one.
Ah, the perfect ending to a perfect day. Shoot, I can't even get off the skis right. To pay a visit to Australia and the northern tropical state of Queensland and then not see the Great Barrier Reef is kind of like making a trip all the way to Egypt and missing the pyramids. It's that important. It's the longest coral reef in the world, and the best place to see it is from an island called Hamilton.
The reef is over 1,500 miles long and patterned with a maze of over 500 islands, but only 20 or so are developed resorts, and only one of those islands has a jet airport, Hamilton Island, where you can fly straight to paradise. The harbor here on Hamilton is a quiet village that has enough moorings for over 200 boats and yachts. This is the dream island of self-made Australian millionaire Keith Williams. He bought the island when it was just grazing land and developed it into a $180 million resort complex.
What is it like to take an island where there really wasn't much at all and make it into a large-scale resort?
Well, I get a big kick out. It's a lot of fun. You know, as a child, I used to play with modelling clay, as you'd call it, you see. Well, this is just like, you know, sort of a giant-sized version of modelling clay. You can shape it as you like and push it around and knock over mountains and build airstrips and, you know, shape the roads and dream about the type of buildings you want and the type of atmospheres you want to create.
Keith is the most interesting rags-to-riches story in Australia. Starting out as a telegram messenger, he soon discovered the secret to success: hard work. He developed automotive equipment, held 95% of the country's market, went into aquatic gear, held 75% of the market, and now he owns 100% of his own island.
Are you the mayor, the police chief, and the fire commissioner? And
Yeah, I'm also the janitor and quite a few other jobs I have.
There must be some secret pleasure that draws people to Hamilton. Millionaires and economy class tourists stay here as well. I guess it's just the relaxed atmosphere as you just kick back in the bright South Pacific sun. Hamilton Island is just one island in the Whitsunday group, 45 miles off the Great Barrier Reef. If you're looking for a touch of paradise 24 hours a day, there's a floating hotel called the Coral Cat. The Coral Cat is a 140-foot catamaran with 22 suites. It's equipped for scuba and fishing.
The vessel is moored at a place called Black Reef normally, and within 50 to 80 yards of the vessel there is coral, probably the most magnificent coral in the world. The varieties of fish, just the wonders of the Barrier Reef are right there at your back doorstep.
The best way to see the wonders of the Great Barrier Reef is to jump right in. Snorkeling is good, scuba diving is even better. But for the seriously jaded who can't imagine getting wet, especially on a holiday, there is one other option: a submarine. Subs are submerging all along the Great Barrier Reef, taking underwater viewers down under in a new way. The subs don't exactly dive and surface, but they are built just below water level, acting as a floating aquarium.
the Great Barrier Reef is the world's largest living organism, and there's just one way to see it. Come on, follow us.
Ready?
The reef was formed by millions of coral polyps and grows about 1/20th of an inch every year. There are 400 species of coral, 1,500 different types of fish, and thousands of other unique forms of life.
It's just one expansive living organism. I've talked to many divers throughout the world and they consider it one of the best diving places in the world as well, so you can understand why it's considered as one of the 8 wonders of the world.
Now, if you're lucky to be at the right place at the right time, you can do as I did and follow a graceful giant manta ray gliding along the top of the coral reef. Okay, at first I admit I was a little frightened, but later above the water, I learned that these majestic giants feed on plankton. They don't eat overexcited TV hosts, especially if you're wearing a rubber suit.
In Australia, a farm of over 400,000 acres isn't unusual at all. You know, I don't think there's any better way to really get a feel of adventure and the spirit of pioneering that is this great land without spending at least a little time in the bush with the people who are a part of Australia's great farming tradition. Come on, boy.
The Outback. This is the heart of Australia. Forget about a car, a saddle, and a helicopter will do just fine. This is still the frontier, and little has changed in 100 years. Frankly, it doesn't get any better than this. On a ranch in the Outback, you're a stranger for about a second.
Hey, hey.
They'll put you to work, and you'll have the time of your life. Tradition and technology are right at home in the Australian Outback. On some of the larger cattle stations, you can stand in the middle of a ranch, turn 360 degrees, and not see the edge of the property. It's somewhere beyond the horizon. One of the most demanding jobs is rounding up cattle in a helicopter.
Now, you say you're busy all the time. What time do you get up and what time do you go to bed?
Well, it depends on the time of the year. If we're really busy, we get up sort of 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and probably mightn't go to bed till 10 o'clock at night.
If somebody fell in love with this land, which is very easy to do, how much would an acre sell for?
This would be somewhere around about that $14 to $16 an acre, up to $20 an acre.
Dollars? $14
yeah.
an acre?
Yeah.
Is that an Australian dollar or US dollar?
No, that's an Australian dollar.
Cheap land has attracted some real characters to the Outback. Now, this may look like a rock in the desert to you, but it's home to one Crocodile Harry. Harry is sort of, well, he's a collector. He collects things and turns them into Outback Art Deco. Harry loves young women and is loved by flies.
I wouldn't have an old lady as a companion. Young girls, yeah. The heat and flies, for instance, flies, that's just a greeting. Salute.
Just like the movie character Crocodile Dundee, Harry used to catch crocs up north. How did he do it?
Jump out from a dinghy on his back and ride him, grab his nose and put his nose in the mud and then quieten him down a bit.
Harry was an immigrant from Europe, and he told me why he loves Australia.
Elbow freedom, do what you like, go where you want to and work where you like to.
Crocodile Harry, just one of the interesting people you'll run across in the Southern Hemisphere's largest desert.
When I'm calling you.
In the Australian Outback, sheep ranches are called stations, and the most popular way of rounding up the little ones is on a motorcycle. Now, the average size of a sheep station in Queensland is about 30,000 acres and about 20,000 head of sheep. The Outback ranchers and farmers are responsible for most of Australia's export. Wool is at the top of the list, and the wool is clipped off the sheep twice a year.
In a day, how many could you shear?
Per shearer, we'll do about 200 a day.
200?
Yeah.
How many sweaters in one suit?
About 6. 6 articles the skin holes on the neck.
Now, this is hard. You can get leg cramps doing this.
A good shearer can clip the wool off one sheep in about 3 minutes. But let me tell you from first-hand experience, this is a physically demanding job.
Okay, you're free. Come on, gang. They want to go. You like it still well. Years ago, an American filmmaker named Bruce Brown took 2 surfers around the world in search of the endless summer. But you know what I found out? They really didn't have to travel around the world to find that endless summer. All they had to do was go 7,000 miles across the Pacific to Australia, where you'll find the endless summer. Now here's a quick look at what's coming up next time.
Take a cast of thousands, including soap star Lynn Herring, and soak them to the skin. What do you get? It's California Wet and Wild.
That's next time. From the Gold Coast of Australia, I'm Chuck Henry. We'll see you again. So long, everybody.
Air transportation to Australia provided by Continental Airlines. Air transportation in Australia provided by East West Airlines.
So long,
Hotel accommodations along the Gold Coast provided by the Conrad International Hotel and Casino.
Everybody shake, everybody groove, everybody shake. Mary, Mary, you're on my mind. Folks are gone and the place will be mine.